We're back, we're live, we're Think Tech. In the Think Tech series, we have Asia in Review, and today is Asia in Review. We're going to talk about the Aloha Medical Mission, as we have many times in the past, and we're going to talk about the fourth trip that the Aloha Medical Mission took to Nepal. And we're here together with Brad Wong, MD, who was the leader of the trip, and then the co-leader, Bikash Gupta. Did I get that right, you guys?
Yeah.
All right, and they both were on this trip only, 3-4 weeks ago. Went to Nepal, to Dankuta, Nepal, in order to do surgery on people who needed surgery in Dankuta, as they do every 2 years now.
Every year.
Every other year.
Every year now. We've been doing it every year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that trip because it's very instructive, not only from a medical point of view, but from a sociological point of view, and from a citizen journalist, citizen diplomat point of view. What happened. It's each time you go on this trip, it's a historical event as far as I'm concerned. That's why I'm so interested in hearing about it.
Yeah, we learn something new each time.
Yeah, you cannot make any assumptions that it will go well or badly. It has a life of its own. It does.
There's always something
Yeah.
that throws a curveball at us. There's always something happening.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a good curveball, and sometimes it's not.
One of our nurses broke a leg.
How?
Fell down some stairs in the dark.
Oh, in
our
residence,
hotel.
In the hotel.
Yeah.
I hope they had insurance.
We can't sue anyway.
If you could, you wouldn't anyway. This is a humanitarian mission, so.
But that was one of the curveballs. And her husband, who's a doctor, had to leave us midweek because of that, to fly home and get it operated on.
Oh, so that was the end for him in this trip.
That's right.
Oh.
So we lost a surgeon and a nurse.
Oh, gee whiz, that hurts.
It does.
She must have had a hard time too. I mean,
Very bad. A lot of pain. Not fun.
Yeah, this is a complex break, not a simple break.
No.
Yeah. Next time you go to a better hotel with light.
It's the only hotel.
That's the only, only hotel, and we're lucky to have that one, I would say.
This is not a tourist experience.
It's an exciting mission. It's always exciting.
Okay, well let's tell them what Aloha Medical Mission is, so they sort of get a point of reference on it. What is it?
Well, Aloha Medical Mission's a nonprofit. We've been here for 30 years now. It was started by ear, nose, and throat specialist and a plastic surgeon going to the Philippines to do cleft lips. And one mission a year changed into 7 missions a year to Bangladesh, Vietnam, Burma, Nepal, a number of different sites in the Philippines itself. And in addition, now we have a local service that we service the uninsured adults who have no dental insurance at our free clinic in Palama Settlement. That's Aloha Medical Mission.
Oh, that's great. It's really a wonderful organization. Everybody who knows it loves it. So, it's kind of come down to a routine with Nepal, right? And that's partly because Bikash is from Nepal. Am I right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I would say so.
So what it proves, I think, is that you need to have somebody who can connect up with the country.
I think it's very important because more than half the job is there, and organizing it, and also getting everything together for the safety of the team. Again, getting our patients and all the organization part that happens in Nepal. Unless someone is connected to the people who are working for us and the volunteers and our friends who are working for us, it's just impossible to connect the dots.
Well, but it goes to show that if you're going to a country which has had a very different culture, a very different, economic situation, you really need somebody on the ground. You need somebody to interface. Mm-hmm. Some people say that's true, by the way.
And it's important too. Like me being here, I would understand the expectations, not of everybody, but again, I'll try my best to keep them comfortable there, and try not to, keep them out in the wild too much. Try to get some elements down to make them feel a little comfortable at least.
Yeah, and interpret, not only in the language sense, but in the cultural sense, and
absolutely.
In the sense of dealing with structures, and officials that you have to deal with who might be hard to deal with if there wasn't somebody around like you to know what they're thinking and doing.
Absolutely. And it's hard sometimes to explain so many things like what goes on in Nepal, and when I explain it to, let's say if I say something to Brad, he would understand because he's been to Nepal before. If I say the same thing, I explain the same thing to someone else, they would be like, what? This really happens? Okay. Like, you know, it's just certain things
Which
do
brings up
happen.
a fascinating part of these missions. The main goal is to operate on people
Yeah.
who can't afford it.
Yeah.
So that's
So you have to get there, get your equipment there, get your people there, set it up.
Yeah,
And I've seen your movies. I've helped you with the movies. and do it, do the job.
yeah, but
right?
the other half is this infrastructure thing that you get the doctors and nurses to operate, but the other half is supporting them, transport, food, safety. And that is a enterprise in and of itself that's just as difficult and unpredictable.
Absolutely.
It's really,
Yeah.
that's to me, that's more fascinating in some respects than the actual operating, which is so second nature to the guys that go.
So you try to narrow your risks. You know,
In-
certainly you're narrowing the risk a lot because you can interface,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know all the risks and you don't know the jaws of it from time to time.
That's very true. Again, like just going back on what we were talking about earlier is like what we do to get. Just to give an example, is the terrain that the volunteers go through and walk to reach these patients, to bring them to us and get the surgeons connected with
These are
them.
the local volunteers.
These are local
who You
volunteers.
enlist that they should go out and bring you patients.
Yes. So because we want to help the people who really need us. Because the town we go and operate on, there are people who can't afford the surgery themselves. But the ones who are outside that pocket, who are out there in the rural areas, those are the people that we want to capture and bring them to and help them, because they are the ones who really need our help.
Yeah.
It may take 2 days for them to get to the
And
hospital,
they have no other way but walking.
walking
Yes.
in a bus, and maybe they don't have bus fare,
Yeah.
so they'll walk more than take a bus.
I know in the past you provided bus fare
We
sometimes.
still do.
Yeah.
I still do provide that transportation for some of the patients who cannot afford it,
Yeah.
who would say, I just cannot go. And then I would say, okay, where can you come till? So they walk till where we can bring the transportation to, and then we can bring them to the hospital.
Yeah, one of the things about going to the same town over and over again is, by the way, is Dankuda your town?
That's my wife's hometown.
Okay. About going to the same town is that they know who you are, what you do, they know your bona fides. It's a Guanxi thing. So you're not a stranger, you're not threatening. You're actually, they know that you're there to help them. They know what's going on.
I'll let Brad answer that. Like, I don't know how you felt the first time you were there. Like,
Actually, I
you
wasn't.
know?
I wanted to hear him say it because, to me, I'm clueless because we go and it's a warm reception. But I really want to know the inside story. Do they really think? This is our third time here. Do they really think that they want us there again?
Well-
And you know, is there a warmth now that there wasn't 4 years ago?
The biggest thing I would say is, like, if you go back and see what they do for us in the beginning, how they welcome us, and it's not only those people who are helping organize everything. That it's also these local people who can give a damn about it and just live their lives. They come there, welcome us, and I don't know if you noticed this when you were there, like every house, they had this flower in front of their house, and that's part of a welcome, that they had a pot of flower in every house door.
No, I was
Did you
clueless
notice
to
when you
that.
come walking down?
They
welcome
always
for
have
you.
flowers.
No, that was just for that occasion, and it's they say it's like a blessing and a holy occasion that they would do those things. They bring out some whenever a new person comes into the home, they do that. Like, for example, if I go back home in Nepal, they'll put some flower pot on the doorway for me to go through. So they show it as well. And the answer to the question is yes, of course, they are very welcome, and they understand like what the team brings and what we bring for the.
Well,
for
I
the town.
remember the footage that I originally got from Brad. I don't know, this must be 3 years ago, something like that.
4 years ago.
4 years ago. Was that your first trip?
First trip.
First
That
trip.
was our first trip.
And it was really heart-rending footage in the sense that when you came to the town and walked through the streets, there was a parade for you. You were the parade, but there was a parade.
Yeah,
around
and they didn't
you.
even know us. They had no clue
Yeah.
who we are, and still they had a parade.
And we should examine that in view of the fact that it was the first trip. Why were they giving you? They were all happy, smiling. They loved you intensely.
Yeah, I have no idea.
What happened? What happened there?
I mean, the biggest thing is I'm connecting these dots right from here. I'm telling my friend Roshesh in Nepal, saying, okay, this is what we are doing. This is what we're doing. It's trust. Just by telling him that, he believes that what we're going to do, and the magnitude of the mission is so big. There's no other mission in Nepal that has gone to Nepal so far has brought such a diversity and such diversity of surgeons and who has operated on so many different specialties.
We'll bring
from
gynecology,
kids to
general surgeon,
gynecologists.
plastics, and dental. 4 different specialties.
And this
So
is
it's-
the only mission that has done that.
So my thought is that each time you go, you're developing a larger constituency of people who are in the countryside who say,
Understand us.
who understand that it's all good. And that the Aloha Medical Mission is bringing something that will help their lives immeasurably, and they tell their friends. I mean, it's the biggest thing that happened
Do
to
they
them in
tell their
years.
friends? Do you think it's
Oh
spread?
yeah. Oh yes, absolutely. Like I was trying to say earlier, like why did they do that in the first place, right? So I talked to my friend, and he believes in it, and he spreads it around. It's trust. The trust among the people are so like when you say something, they do believe in you, and they will wait for it too. And again, sometimes it does not happen. But still, they will trust you. Even if you repeat it again, they will trust you again. So that trust is there. So they said, okay, there are so many surgeons and people coming in from the U.S. They're taking all this time to come in. We have to welcome them to our town. One, yes, because we have to welcome them. Second is we have to show them, make them feel comfortable here, so that they will come back.
Right,
They have that incentive too.
right.
And that's what's been happening every year. And as the years go by, I don't see any. It's not getting smaller. It's, I think, getting bigger. The welcome ceremony is getting like better and better. And when he said like, are they spreading it? So when we came back this year, Roshish went with all these bureaucrats to have a dinner. Roshish is the main volunteer in Dankuta itself. He's from there.
So he's your advanced man.
Yes, and he's a very good friend of mine. That's how I talked to him initially before even starting all of this. So he was sitting with all these bureaucrats, and they were amazed. They were so amazed to see what we do, and they were like,
These were new ones that hadn't
"These
been
are
there
all
before.
new. They had never been there before," and they were like, "Oh my God, Roshish, like, this is such a big deal. This is such a big deal, and how come you guys don't advertise it? Like, how come it's not in the media at all?" You know, if somebody even did half of this, people take advantage of that. They advertise it in the media. They're on the TV, and they take advantage of it, and maybe they go into politics and take some profit out of it. But I don't see anything in this. This sounds so pure.
I think this is an interesting topic that we're on. In the past, we've got all melodramatic, about patience and helping mankind and all that. And we're through with that now because, we're over that. Okay.
Not really, but okay.
So, and I think what's interesting is that we still bring the medicine. We still do the surgery.
Yeah.
That's still done. But now we're focusing on a different aspect of this, which I think is more fascinating. I wouldn't say more. And that is this.
Interface of the cultures.
Yeah,
it's amazing
it's
thing happening.
how this project gets carried out, and that's what amazes me, that it even gets done. The first time off, I attribute it just to damn luck.
You didn't realize the miracle of it.
That's right.
Now you know
And now
more.
I realize that after having done it every year, this consistency shows that there is really effort and energy behind it. That it just didn't happen as a coincidence. It really took the effort of a lot of people in Nepal to do it, as well as people here. And that's what intrigues me, is that we could pull this off through not just one person's effort,
No, it's not.
but it's a combination, a synergistic effort of many different people throwing in their little pebble, and creating this mass that has an effect.
I certainly agree with you, and
It's fascinating.
we can talk about the medicine of it, and the drama of the teaming operating room and all that.
Yeah.
But now we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I would like to delve further into this process. The engagement of the group, of Bikash, of the bureaucracy, the town officials. How does that work? How does that stack up? We're going to take this short break. That's Brad Wong, Dr. Brad Wong, and Dr. Bikash Gupta. They were both on this recent mission, the Aloha Medical Mission, 4th trip to Nepal. We're on Asia in Review. I'm Jay Fidell. We'll be right back after this short break.
We want to thank our underwriters. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve. Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. the High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the gas company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
We're back, we're live, we're having such a rich time with these guys. Dr. Brad Wong, Dr. Bikash Gupta, here on Asia in Review. And it's the story of the American, or rather, I always do that, Aloha Medical Mission's 4th trip to Nepal, which was different than the first 3, I think. So, talking about the interface and how you actually, get the job done or set the stage to get the job done. It's not just Bikash. Bikash has to deal with other people in Dankuda, and they have to deal with other people. It's a whole infrastructure of people to make sure that everything stays in place. You are insinuating a mission into a community that doesn't have a lot of experience with missions like this. Mm-hmm. And you have to get acceptance right down to, yes, you can touch me. Yes, you can, do surgery on me. This is not, you can't assume that'll happen. Mm-hmm. So what about the officials? What about the government in the town of Dankuda? Do they have an absolute say in whether this can happen or not?
The most challenging thing about the government and the bureaucrats in Nepal is it changes constantly. Every year we deal with a new phase. And we have to start from scratch explaining to them what we're doing, why we're doing this, and all that, despite the fact that they have all our documents from before. They always have that, but we still have to start from scratch.
Well, they're doing their job.
Yeah, they are.
That's what they,
That's
my
absolutely
job.
true.
I got to check you out yet again.
Absolutely. But again, they try to give us a difficult time. Like, despite the fact that we are saying, okay, we are doing this for a good cause, they try to give us a little bit of a run around to that. But again, that's everywhere. I don't think it's all over the country.
But as far as you're concerned, though, if you go in a given year, it's not that you cannot assume that the same officials will be there.
They usually are not.
Oh, okay.
It's not for sure. Yeah, they're usually not for sure. Like. Usually the higher ranked officials, and yes, they have to give us a permission to work in the structure, like the district hospital that we go to.
Oh, I mean,
because it's owned by it's run by the government.
Yeah.
It's owned by the government.
Yeah.
You can say that the district hospital that we operate on, we have to get a permission from the Ministry of Health to say, okay, can we go and use your hospital? And if you could write a permission to the health officer saying that, okay, the Aloha Medical Mission is coming back from this date to this date. Please support them and give them the.
This is the nation's center now.
Yeah, this is
the country's center is telling.
Out of Kathmandu.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have to do it. We've got their permission, so of course they have to do it. But how well they cooperate is really up to them.
But when you go to the
Sounds like China to me.
Layers.
So when you go to the district level, to the hospital, now it depends on the district health officer whether he wants to cooperate or not. And he'll always say, okay, we'll do it. And then they go, but it's always depends on that level when they say whether you want to do it or not.
The trick is, his mother-in-law is the chief nurse of the hospital. And that's what I learned compared to last year, where the administrator of the hospital helped us zero, and we didn't have a nursing connection.
And we had a hard time.
And we had a difficult time taking care of our patients because we had no nursing to help us. And what I learned this time is that the administration is irrelevant.
Yeah.
If they say okay, we go, but it's the people at the very bottom of the rung, the bottom ladder, the nurses taking care, the doctors doing the surgery, the nurses. If you have control over that element, the administrators are irrelevant. They're important, but they don't provide the care.
So I got to do the right inflection on this. So this is different from Hawaii?
I suppose I had to relearn that.
Okay.
Right? That the power really resides in the lowest rung. And we happen, just by fortune, to have a connection by marriage to the power that was the most important, that is the leader of the nurses.
But not last year.
And that's
Not last year.
Just
I would not
this
say
year.
that was a coincidence. I think that was the whole reason why I proposed to Brad that we go to Vancouver, because I know the people there and all that. But again, I would again say that because we have this permission from the Ministry of Health, the district officers cannot say no. They cannot say, I'm going to close my doors to you. They have to open the doors to us because we already have the permission. But
They cooperate.
yeah, they cooperate with the orders they got.
Yeah.
But again, not from their hearts. And it makes it a lot of difference.
Sure.
You know, if somebody is there coming saying, how are you? Do you need any help? Over not showing up at all, but they have given you that place to work on, it makes a difference. And if they are not helpful, and as well as the nurses and the ground level, the one who are practically touching the patients, are not helpful, then there's no mission.
So it is no different than Hawaii.
There's no mission.
Well, the word passive-aggressive does come to mind.
But again, just
It's
because
passive-aggressive bureaucry kind of mode is what
Yeah.
it is.
And
just-
the
just because
success
they
of our
help.
three Dankudas mission, now that I realized it, and this one
It's
is
all
because
that.
we had this connection to the people that really mattered. And I think
Yes,
that's what I learned
absolutely.
about the infrastructure, is that
No, that's 100%
if
true.
you have this connection in any organization, you do well. If you don't, you struggle.
Yes, and you may not achieve what you want. In fact, you know, if somebody at the bureaucratic level, even at a low bureaucratic level, doesn't want to support you, they can stop you from achieving what you want.
That's what happened in Lahan last year.
Our last
Because
mission.
the nurses did not, they didn't come at all to help us. They could have come to help us.
The mission went to
The-
Lahan in Nepal last year.
Instead
Instead of Dankuda.
Instead of
It was a
Dankuda.
different place.
Yeah. So it was very hard over there because the nurses did not come to help us. They did not get an order from their superior saying not to go, and they didn't even get an order to go. But they could have always come and helped us out of the way too.
So in retrospect, you know, taking all this, you know, what happened in Lahan, what happened in Dankuda, you know, and the way it changes, what can you do as a mission to make sure that you get the necessary support at all levels? Is there anything you can do,
Well, you
or
do-
is this just out of control?
It's both. You do your best to make the connection,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then once once you're in the plane, the die is cast, and you are the victim of providence, of weather, of circumstance, of people's intentions, good or bad. And that's what has fascinated me, is that once you start the ball rolling, it's the roll of the dice. It's things that you have oftentimes no control over. And sometimes you do, much of the time you don't. And that's what is so intriguing about this phenomenon. There's nothing predictable
Yeah.
about these missions, and that is what is so fascinating.
And it's fun about it.
We take it for granted that it'll be done, but now I realize how fragile it is.
And it was always fragile,
But I
actually.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, you're
always-
lucky.
Yeah.
It's always that. Yeah. It's never, you never can predict what's going to happen. Despite all your organization and despite making everything look perfect, it's never perfect.
Why do I feel this is not limited to, Aloha Medical Mission in Nepal? That it's actually a truism of life in general,
Let's say so.
of missions, you know, in general, of all kinds. You know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You cannot predict until you're there, then you see it and say, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you modify and then you mold yourself into it and get it done.
In a local business, you have more control because you're there all the time.
Right.
But when you leave a country, you do as much as
A lot more
preparation.
variables, yeah.
And once you leave the country, you're in someplace foreign, you're an island.
And no control.
That's right.
Yeah.
You don't have the resources to change or to support.
So you
yourself.
guys also, go every year. You go in the spring, early spring, I suppose, to the Philippines.
Right.
Same process there, same phenomenon.
It's easier, so much easier, because the Philippines has so much more resources.
Does that mean money?
Infrastructure, money, hospital, drugs. It's easier to get things you don't have. The nurses are more plentiful. They're-
More cooperative? You don't have the
No.
bureaucratic resistance?
that can that can happen where you have problems.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to travel in the Philippines too.
Yeah.
More people speak English. Their government and administrative structure is more westernized.
How about the need? Is the need different in the
I
Philippines?
think the need is the same. They're just poor people.
Yeah.
You know, that
And so
aren't,
they have the result in the same medical needs.
Medical needs are the
poor
same.
people without options.
you know, there's no insurance in Nepal. There's no medical insurance in the Philippines. You have rich people and poor people. The rich can get care, the poor people can't.
And the gap is so huge.
It's a huge gap.
In Nepal, are there rich people in Nepal?
They are.
Yeah.
They're pretty rich people.
Are there
And
rich
again,
people in Dankuda?
They are, yes. They're pretty rich people who can do pretty good things, actually.
Well, so let me ask you this. I mean, just to sort of go forward on that, how was the trip?
No, it was really good. I was there half the time. I was there only half
Why-
the time.
why did you leave?
Guilty as charged, but I had to come back to take my boards here.
Take an exam.
To sit for exam.
What boards are you taking? Did you take?
Family practice.
Okay.
But again, I was there half the time only, but still I think it went really well. The worst thing about it that I felt guilty about afterwards, that the second half was the time I felt that I had to be there more, because like Brad got sick and he was out for a few days.
So this is a lesson. This is a lesson, which is we talked about. This how fascinating things are unpredictable.
Right.
So I was sick for 5
7
days in the
days.
middle of the mission.
That's
He
a
left
long
after a
time
week.
off, yeah.
We lost the surgeon after
Surgeon
1
and a
week.
nurse.
And we lost an anesthesiologist and another surgeon, a Nepali surgeon, for the last 2 days of the mission because they had to go back to work. But it turns out that in spite of the losses of their leaders, the crew did fine. They didn't need us. It worked out fine.
But they
which,
can't do the same volume of work without you. I mean, what did you start at? What did you wind up at?
well, that, yes, so we lost volume because of the
Lots
two
of
surgeons
hands.
being dropped out. But everything functioned well because the team was competent. Half the crew were old timers, so they knew how to carry on. And that's the most
I
remarkable
think
thing
that was the most important factor.
is that in spite of the loss of the leaders, they did it without us.
They didn't
It's
need
fantastic.
us.
They didn't need us,
They didn't
which
need
is
us.
That's great.
which is fascinating.
So I hope you're not going to take too much heart out of that because, you know, it doesn't necessarily work that way.
And the other thing I think worked also because of the experience that they have. And I would really, every time say like Dankuda did such an incredible job this year with the screening process and how they channeled the patients and got connected with us. It was so like as if somebody had just walked through the town, they would not even know that it was a huge mission going on there, because compared to the previous years when there was so much crowd.
We're talking
and it was,
we're talking so casually that I think your viewers are going to get the wrong idea.
I hope not.
Because
Just straighten them out.
yeah. So
What do you want them to know about this?
the way we're talking, this is our 4th time we've been on this show, guys, and we're trying to talk about something different because we don't want to repeat the melodrama that we had before. And so we're taking a lot of things for granted, that we actually took 40 people, flew into this town, took a road that was half washed out by a flood and an avalanche. 90% of our team got sick
yes.
during the mission for 1 or 2 days that they couldn't work.
Intestinal, respiratory, that sort
Everything.
of thing.
That's right. So that's par. There were the challenges are tremendous, and the need is there, and we did surgery. But what we're taking that with a lot of humor and assuming that that was done. But what really we're glossing over is the tremendous amount of preparation and work and personal challenges that not just our team, but the Nepali screeners, the doctors, the nurses who were there before us had to exert to get this accomplished. There's a huge amount of individual heroism and effort that went into this
Absolutely.
that we're just kind
Absolutely.
of glossing over because we expect this. It happens. You know, we're not centering on it, but I don't want them to get the impression that it just happens because
No.
You know, it-
Oh, I hope not.
yeah.
I
And-
hope they don't, that you guys don't get that impression of this. It's a lot of work. It definitely is a lot of work, but again, it gets, you know what you want to do. The next year, you know the steps that you have to take, and every step you can fall apart.
It's a huge challenge. And I mean, the test of it, to anybody watching is, okay, you want to do this? Let's see. First, you're going to have to take time out of your life and your job. The second is you're going to have to schlep across half the world to get there, and it's not easy. The third is you have all these risks, including medical risks. And the fourth is you get to pay your transportation.
Yes.
And the kinds of we did 182 major surgeries in
And you work hard.
10 days. The crew works hard.
Yeah.
And in a room the size of this room, 40 feet, we have 3 operating room tables. The gynecologist is opening people's bellies, taking out uteruses and tumors. The general surgeons are taking out gallbladders
Right
and
next
fixing
to each
them.
other.
They're right next to each other.
This doesn't happen at Queens.
No, not quite like that. And we've glossed over that this time because we've talked about that on other shows before, when we brought that to your viewers. But still, that phenomenon is a miracle. That the fact that we can do this with no major complications, with no death, with pretty much near 100% success
So
by
far.
that measure, with people not having any major bad result from this surgery. Some of it is major surgery. And we can do this in an environment that no one is used to, is really
That's very true.
a miracle.
Yeah, and this year I'd like to reemphasize on it is like I think we helped around approximately 800 people in total. We touched them in some way or the other,
For a period
including
of what, 3 weeks?
no,
10 days.
10 days and working 9 days.
Okay.
9
well, I didn't
working
realize
days.
that's
in total 10
800
days.
people in 9
800
days. That's
people,
incredible.
approximately 800 people. To be exact, it's 780 something. And that's including major surgery, minor
Pulling teeth.
dental, hands.
Yeah, giving
and
hands
that's
out.
that. And I've not even included the ones that we will affect in the future with the solars that we have installed there.
Wow.
No, we haven't talked about that project.
So, but
Yeah.
just to follow on your point, both of your points, I mean, all these problems aside, it still works.
It still
On an
works.
individual doctor or participant in the trip from point of view, it still works. And you still get out of it what you originally got out of it, and it still is a miracle
It is.
personally, as well as a sort of a public phenomenon.
Absolutely. That's why I want to do it again and
Do
again.
it again.
Yes.
And you'll never stop.
Oh, I don't know about my cough.
Let's take a break. We're doing this because of his cough.
Yes. Let's do that.
That's Dr. Brad Wong and Dr. Bikash Gupta. We're talking about Aloha Medical Mission's 4th trip to Nepal, just ended, here on Asia in Review in the Think Tech series. I'm Jay Fidell. We'll be right back after this very brief break.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Okay, we're back. We're live with Dr. Brad Wong and Dr. Bikash Gupta. They just came back from a mission, the Aloha Medical Mission 4th trip to Nepal. And we're going to discuss that. We are discussing that on Asia in Review. We're really finding some interesting angles. As you guys proceed down the track on this, we all learn so much about what you're doing and how you do it. And, the way Hawaii has a big heart about these things. It's a lovely book to write, you know what I mean? Someday somebody will write a book about it. So, going back, you came back and you weren't feeling well. What happened? I mean, you're a doctor. You can't fix yourself. Heal thyself, surgeon.
Well, I got really sick. I think I got the flu before I left.
Oh.
But in spite of that, virtually 80% to 90% of our team were sick for at least a day, where they had to leave early or were functioning miserably, but still they worked.
This is
throughout-
predictable, right? I mean, it always happens.
Always happens.
Always. Yeah.
Everyone gets sick, and still we do it.
What is it? It's a kind of, you could, if you go to Dunkuna, if anybody goes to Dunkuna, it's just passing through the looking glass somehow. You're going from one world to another world. And so you can expect to be sick.
Well, no, I
Or
think
is it
I'm
the-
not putting it that way.
we stay in the same hotel.
Yeah.
We eat in the same dining room.
Yeah.
We hang out in the same bars.
Yeah.
And we cough on each other, and we get
That's
each
what
other
it is.
sick.
That's what
And we
it
just
is.
pass it around the team.
Yeah.
So one person
Well, how
gets
does
sick.
it get into the group in the first place?
I think it's
Someone
from the
like me
hospital,
brings
I
it
would
in, or
say.
someone else brings it in.
I would say that it would come from the hospital because
Yeah.
we are working in a hospital, which is the place where all the germs are.
Yeah.
You know, and we are not. They are all not our patients. They are also patients who come to the
Okay,
hospital to
that's the
see other
important point,
physicians
yeah.
too, just as an outpatient visit. So they come. So we could easily get anything
And it's a
from
foreign.
there.
These are foreign bugs too.
Yeah, these are foreign.
Right,
very
which we have no
resistant.
resistance for.
Yeah, they're
Right? If
brand.
you live in one place,
You know, we're not exposed to them or
Not
something.
at all.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like even the slightest exposure to it, we get it sick. Yeah.
So who was in your group? I know in the past you've had some extraordinary members of the group. You know, aside from the medical team, you brought people of all walks of life come with you. You know, sort of record what's going on and bring back the word, make movies. You
Yeah.
know, who else was in the group this time?
Well, as usual, we had pre-med students,
I love that.
doctor wannabes,
I love that part.
residents. We had a surgical resident. We had a medical student who wants to be a surgeon. We had a businesswoman. We had
Really?
a retired financial advisor.
Really?
We had a social worker.
Oh,
And the social worker and the businesswoman became the nurses who did outpatient surgery. They learned how to take care of instruments, pull the anesthetic solution, wash, clean. They did that within 6 hours, and they did great. And we had this retired financier washing instruments.
oh, that's great.
They learned skills that they didn't think they could learn.
Why do they come? They're not in the medical profession. What makes them want to come? I mean, it's really taking a huge leap for
Yeah.
the ordinary person.
They describe this to us. When you get old and you lived in a privileged society like we do, and you don't have to be wealthy to understand that you were privileged, they want to give back before they die. That's a common theme in all these older people that are not medical that want to come with us. I want to do something to give back to the community, the world community. And that's why they're there. It's fascinating.
It is, because they're taking risks, you know, they're suffering discomfort, and yet they come to do that. That's-
And they come despite they don't even know what they're getting into.
yeah.
They have no idea. I would say that this, how many other times like we explain to them, this is what you're getting into, this is what it's way
They're
beyond
all
that.
very anxious.
all
They're
way
afraid they're
beyond
going to faint
Yeah.
when they see blood.
Sure, because
They're-
they've never done this
No.
before.
And they're worried that they will be totally incapacitated, frozen, and look foolish. They're all afraid of looking foolish, which is good. It's healthy for them. I think it's good for them
think it's good for them.
to feel that way and then learn that they can
But they pass that.
do it.
I'm trying to imagine what happens to a non-doctor. I mean, I'm including, by the way, non-doctor, the medical student too, or the wannabe, the wannabe.
The wannabes.
Because they can faint just the same way that other non-doctors can faint. But it seems to me that here you are, you get in a plane, and you're going, into another world, and you're on a trip, but it is not a vacation, and then you're doing things you've never done before, and you're kind of in a personal envelope. That it must be an incredible experience.
I know exactly how they feel because I all made them write reports to me.
Did you really?
Yes,
That's
and
a smart idea.
I'll send it to you. But I have 11 reports right now.
Me too.
You didn't send yours in.
You don't have to.
And
actually.
they all have this commonality to them. I was very afraid before going. I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
I was worried that I was going to fail. But this was the best experience of my life.
Because it's a challenge,
And they overcame it.
and overcame it. Yeah.
And they met all these wonderful people. They met the Nepali helpers and the American friends that they never knew and became family with. And they met the Nepali patients who, in spite of the fact that they're poor, suffering, are so grateful and gracious. In spite of the fact that they're in pain after the surgery, they're thankful, they're happy, and to them that was an experience they don't normally see in their everyday lives here. So
Well,
they all had fantastic experiences.
I don't know if they talked about it, but it strikes me that when you do this, when you or especially in a group, it's one thing to be in the North Woods alone. That's probably a great experience, but now you have a group, and the group is involved in creating its own little culture. And one of the, and it's coming down to a sort of a baseline of pure humanity, pure honesty, pure, focus.
Here you go on the melodrama again, Jay.
Sorry, I always do that.
Yeah.
It's
That
something
is, that's
that you
partly
said
true.
makes me.
Yeah.
But it strikes me that this is an experience that never had. One of the reasons is that it's so pure. It's basic humanity. It takes you outside of
and
civilization.
it affects them very deeply, because as
That's what
non-medical
I think,
people,
yeah.
it's a unique experience. Medical personnel see this a lot. This change, the suffering person who is helped, and they're much more used to this phenomenon. But the layperson isn't used to this issue of health.
Right, and now you get
That's
to
a
see
powerful one.
health right up front, right.
Life and death, yeah.
Life and death right in front of you.
And to them, it's a huge psychological and intellectual leap.
Stimulation. I mean, it's got to be stimulating on every philosophical
And
level.
I also think that the other thing that they see how the people in Nepal live and the culture that they see, that makes a lot of difference. And like we were saying earlier, is how they appreciate what they have back here. I think that's what, when they see how people are living off basic, like literally basic structures and basic needs, they're just fulfilling that, and they still have a smile in their face and still have something to offer you as well.
Yeah.
And that's just simple thing. When they see that, I think that they appreciate that a lot. They bring that back with them, and a lot of them would bring that in their hearts. That's
Well,
very
here,
nice.
you guys are actually writing a book together. I mean, it's a great book. Whether it ever gets written, I don't know. Maybe you're writing it here now, without media. And I sure appreciate you coming down. And I sure appreciate you talking straight about it. That's so important. This is not just
we are on air.
to impress, and it's not just to to develop. It's merely to talk story about what really happened. But every trip has to affect the organization, the future of the organization, the perception of those inside the group, and the way you tell the story so that you have perception from outside the group. So how does this trip differ? I mean, how did this trip sort of change the direction of Aloha Medical Mission, if it did? What effect did it have on the future of AMM?
I don't think it changes anything.
Good.
I think that what it does, it adds to what I think are strengths of our board. The board has 6 new members that are only a year old on the board. And what's impressed me is that they have very quickly come to understand that the missions that all these leaders have done, 7 a year, are really important to their involvement on the board. They understand how important it is and how good it is that they're non-medical participation on the board. They're not all doctors. In fact, the 6 new members, none of them are doctors. They're local businessmen and women. And I admire them for this. They appreciate the importance of what these missions do.
Absolutely.
So doing missions like this supports the board. It encourages them to put their energy into keeping the Aloha Medical Mission viable and stable.
That's good to know.
Bikash, how about you? I mean, how did it affect you? By the way, while you're speaking, I like Brad to pull his microphone out of wherever it fell down into, and so that we can hear him better.
Sneaky little.
Just a thought.
They didn't hear me at all.
I know, we heard you. How did it affect your life, your perception of medicine and all that?
Well, it definitely affects me a lot. That's why I do it, and I want to do it again and again. It just, I just feel for how these people, well, just more like looking at how they would be able to survive and how we give them a chance. It's not only about giving them the chance, it's about me, myself, learning from that and knowing and appreciating what I have back here. And every day I feel, I look back at that and say, thank you, God, just for this.
Interesting.
That's the biggest thing.
So you
And
carry it forward every day.
have to. And it's not only the thought process, it's not that I'm saying it because I want to say that, it's because I feel it, that's why I'm saying it. And I feel that I appreciate what I have today, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
But these people, despite, if I go back to Nepal, I'm from Nepal myself, but if I go back and want to live like them, I don't know if I'll be able to do that too. Because Brad, first year when I went, I remember Brad saying, "You really think you're going to go back there and start eating whatever you want to, don't you? You better be careful." And he was right. He was right. I was here, I think, too long. Washed my guts already. Made him almost sterile.
So
I would say.
you're not impervious.
No, but again, the people over there, they do appreciate what we do, and the way they express it to us, that is the time that I feel, oh, thank you. Don't thank me. I thank you for what you're giving back to
That
me.
leads me to my last question, which I think is really an important area to discuss to close the show. And that is, so they said to you, that this is not, they said, we need to do this every 2 years, not every year.
They wanted to take a year off next year. There's too
What
much work for
is
them.
that about? So what is that about exactly?
Our support staff in Nepal, basically one guy in this one town, had to take 2 months off from his business because of the daily work he had to do to meet with
Yeah.
bureaucracy, the hospital staff, the police,
Just get all the dots connected.
and he felt that he could do it, but it was a big burden on his family and his business. And I have to agree with him.
And despite he's well off. He's got a good business. He does very well. But despite that 2 months to, I would say more than 2 months actually, it's almost plus minus 4 to 6
You mean
months.
to
I would
prepare
say.
for it.
To prepare for this, he will give total of 2 months for sure. But he starts working 6 months
Why
in
does it fall
advance.
only on one person?
Again, because I trust him the most, I would say. And
That's
and
how
couldn't
things
you-
get done.
done.
It has to be the one person.
And I talked to him, and he distributes it to the rest. But he has to be there. If he is not there, then no one will follow him. They will say, "Oh, so you want to sit home and just make me do the stuff while you stay home and you're not doing it? I won't do it too." There is that human factor that always come into play. That's not really good.
That's the other interesting thing that I learned, is that accomplishments of either a person and their own business or an organization really nearly boils down to the actions of very few people,
Very, very
key people
I'll say,
that take an idea and run with it.
A few committed people can change the world.
And the other thing was also the biggest thing was he wanted that, saying, "Okay, I think we should it'll be nice if we could take a break, but if you say that you want to come next year, I'll do it." That's what he
it's
says. But
essentially
I don't
up to
want to
him.
push him. I don't want
Yeah.
to push him. It's so unfair to push him and tell him,
Could
"Okay,
you
let's
help
do
him?
it again."
Could you help him? Could you say, we're going to give you $500 American dollars?
It's not monetary.
It's not money.
It's not money. It's not money. It's the time he takes off of his family and time he takes off of the business. $500 is not going to continue his business. It's the continuity of his business that's getting hampered. When he comes to work with us, his wife has to go away from his kids and the
So it's
family
disruption.
to come and take care of the
There's
shop.
a sad side to this, is that because of this one person's decision,
You got this incredible team,
And-
which yields so much value.
and
for
another
Vancouver.
800 people will not be reached next
It
year.
doesn't seem fair, Brad.
And that's the other side to this. We
It
have
doesn't
to,
seem fair.
yeah.
I understand.
So what's going to happen next year in lieu of Dankuda?
I can't tell you. It's a secret.
I love secrets. How about just tell me quietly and nobody will ever
No,
know?
you're gonna tell me, I think.
We're in the process of planning missions somewhere else. So the puka might be filled by some other mission. And we're not standing still.
I didn't think you would. But you'll come and tell us when you're ready.
I'll let you know.
Okay. You guys are amazing. Brad Wong and Bikash Gupta, doctors here in Hawaii, who go every year, twice a year at least, to faraway places to do medical missions, surgical missions with Aloha Medical Mission. And we've been talking about their 4th trip to Nepal, which is really amazing, actually, in many ways. We learned a lot. Here on Asia in Review, part of the Think Tech series, I'm Jay Fidell. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming by.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.